So I said I would answer some questions about my cochlear implant. I do apologize for the delay and thank you for your patience. Just a matter of trying to find the time to do this, the setup and everything like that. So long story short, as I'm sure some of you know, I lost my hearing when I fractured my skull back in 2018. They told me I fractured my cochlea. And the cochlea is a snail shell shaped bone in your inner ear, full of liquid, and has little microscopic hairs that pick up the sound waves. The sound waves travel through the liquid, and the nerves send it to the brain. And I was told that I fractured that, and there was an air bubble in that bone that the sound waves would hit that bubble, and the nerves weren't able to pick it up. And due to that bone being so small, there was no real way to drain that air or fill it in or anything like that. So essentially, over time, it just, stopped working. And one of the things the doctors did say was they said that I could possibly get a cochlear implant. And they asked if I intended to wrestle again. And I said yes. And because of that, they kind of implied that I shouldn't receive the implant if I intended to wrestle again, saying that I could break it. And that's really all that was discussed. I didn't really know much about it. I didn't learn how I could break it or anything like that. I believe they said if you could break the bone, then you could break the implant. And that made a ton of sense to me. And in addition to that, cochlear implant, as you can see, kind of hooks onto the side of the head. And that made a ton of sense to me. I'm like, yeah, of course, you can't wrestle with that. So that's part of the reason. I mean, that is the reason why I waited so long to get this. It wasn't until I had a match with Sean Sparks on an Indiana at PWK. Sean Sparks, an incredible athlete, also is hearing impaired, and I saw him take the implant off as easy as could be, and my mind was blown. I was like, wait a second. How can you do that? I was always under the impression, because I knew a cochlear implant needed surgery, that I thought this part was surgically attached. All my life, I've always thought that was the case. It's a pretty rare thing to see, but if you see a stranger with it, you're not going to go up and ask, hey, how does that work? So that's a big reason why I wanted to put this video out there, to kind of inform a lot of people that may not know what a cochlear implant is and the logistics of everything like that. So once I learned from Sean, ironically named Sean as well, that the implant is anchored with a magnet, not surgically attached, my mind was blown wide open. So we get the implant, we get surgery, a small implant is placed into the cochlea, and then an anchor that sends the signal to the implant, which has the exterior device hooked onto the ear and just connects like that with a magnet. And now I can hear. That moment where I took that exterior device off is also super weird, because I wear this all waking hours except for when I shower. So to go back to not hearing after these past couple days of hearing again is actually like really shocking. It's like, how did I live like that for so long? But it's really cool, because when it's on and then whenever it connects, like it's not a super strong magnet too. That's another thing that I was kind of confused. Like, I thought it was a very like snap, it's on and magnetic. It is not a very strong magnet. And part of the reason is because if it was really strong, the friction against the skin would actually really irritate the skin and the scalp, and they don't want that. In addition to that, all it takes is walking past the refrigerator, and there goes your external device stuck to the fridge. But it's funny, because when it connects, I hear a little bit of like feedback, and then it's on, and that's cool. I know that it's connected. So once I learned that it was just a simple, removal of the exterior device, I'm not kidding when I say my mind was completely blown at the possibilities now. I had lived 6 years thinking that this was an unattainable goal, and now it was as possible as can be. So we looked into the process, and I did some tests to see if I was a candidate, because now 6 years had passed, so it was entirely possible my cochlea, was full of scar tissue. So we had to do a lot of testing and everything like that to make sure I was still a candidate. And thankfully I was. So I first did a regular run-of-the-mill hearing test and confirmed I cannot hear out of my left ear. Shocking to nobody. So then they told me, okay, well, now you need to go do this type of hearing test to see if you're a candidate for a cochlear implant, more precise testing. And that was a little bit different. I was in a soundproof room, and there was like a speaker in front of me and to the right of me, and they would play sound, a bunch of people talking and like white noise, and I couldn't make out any, that type of thing. And occasionally a word would pick through, and I could hear it clear as day. And it was kind of more so direction, figuring out the direction of my hearing loss. And then that confirmed that I was a candidate, which was great. And then they told me, I needed to possibly do another test to see if that didn't work. And thankfully, I didn't need that. It was right then and there. Doctor was like, "Yeah, you're good. We don't need to do this second test," which would have been essentially stimulating a implant. They would have numbed my ear canal and put a needle directly into my nerve in my ear, which sounds very unpleasant. And sending a signal directly to the nerve, it's a way of kind of bypassing an actual surgical procedure to test that inner nerve without, going through the whole surgery for nothing. So thankfully I didn't need that. Then I had to do a couple CT scans and stuff like that to see, because, it had been 6 years, and make sure the cochlea wasn't completely full of scar tissue at this point. And it did fill in a little bit more, which was a little bit of a challenge to the doctor come surgery day. But up until that point, I was very excited. Everything was moving so fast. Initially, I saw the doctor in like October, and then November was the more precise hearing test. And then after that appointment, we scheduled surgery for December. It happened so unbelievably fast. I could not believe it. Part of me, one of the questions that I received was there any, fear or anything going into it? No, I was excited. I was excited to have this life-changing procedure done, and maybe inspire other people and teach other people in the process, which is what I'm doing now, or I'd like to think I'm doing now. But really, the only real anxiety that I had about it was everything was going so fast that it felt too good to be true. I was waiting for any moment a phone call from my doctor saying, "Hey, we looked at your tests, can't do it," 'cause I was just waiting for the rug to be pulled out from underneath me. And thankfully that never happened. So when I woke up from the surgery, they just gave me the implant. I had a big thing on the side of my head, and I didn't have my exterior device until a month later. They wanted to make sure the surgery and everything went off without a hitch. And there was a little bit of swelling. Like, I think my ear was, kind of folded out, and had a lot of actually numbness in my ear. And a little bit of discomfort, a little bit of pressure, earache, but thankfully it wasn't that bad. And then it was just a matter of waiting until January 23rd for activation day, and getting used to it in the process. I kept feeling like the scar and like that. It was really weird trying to get the feeling back. And I really can't even feel it. Like, I can kind of feel a little bit of where the device is, where the magnet is under my scalp. Very, very, very little. Like, it's not uncomfortable, and I might even be incorrect. It might be a part of my head that I've never really touched before, and it's just always felt like that. But I've never noticed. But it doesn't hurt. It's not uncomfortable. If I didn't know that what the actual whole process looked like, I wouldn't even know that there was a piece underneath my scalp. But other than that, I haven't had any, any sensation to it whatsoever, other than maybe feeling it and like, oh, that feels like that's where that is. And that's pretty weird to think about. But one of the things I did ask was about, CT scans, MRIs, metal detectors. They said metal detectors, I might set them off, but honestly, with the amount of like metal that I have, not in my body, but rather on it, like my studded belt, my wallet chain, stuff like that, I might, I probably am going to set it off regardless. So I'm not, it's not foreign to me to be wanded down. But like CT scans and MRIs, like I can still get them. I just have to let them know, because they have to like wrap it. Because I don't, if I understand correctly, it's not going to disrupt it. It's not going to, pull it or anything like that. but the implant will cast a shadow over the image, which is very interesting. I didn't know that, which is good, because I was worried if, like, God forbid, an emergency happened and I needed an emergency CT scan or MRI, and I couldn't tell them that I had an implant, and they put me in there and it gets sucked out of my skin. Like, in my understanding, I don't believe that's going to happen. So, whew. Does this qualify as bionic hearing? I will say yes. I am hearing digitally, and it's very weird. The best way I can describe what my current hearing is a very robotic, alien sounding voice. And if I understand correctly, the more that I train my nerve, the more that I listen to podcasts directly, which I can stream via Bluetooth directly to my implant and only hear with this, which is really mind-blowing. Audiobooks, podcasts, comedians, stand-up routines. The more that I train my brain, the more that nerve is going to, eventually process the sound accurately. As far as I am aware, I might be completely incorrect. It may be a auditory illusion, and it may still be robotic, but my brain gets to the point where it ignores the robotic sound to it. Splitting hairs there, I don't know. And it's also entirely possible it couldn't get any better than this, which I'm not completely upset about, because it is amazing being able to process sound on my left side. You don't realize how much hearing you lose when you lose just one ear. All this time, I'd say, when people would ask me, what is it like being deaf in my left ear, going from perfect hearing to complete total loss of hearing was such a jump, that the best way I can explain it is, because people would ask me, does it sound like you're underwater? Does it sound like there's an echo? No. It sounds like trying to hear with your hand. There's just no sound. The only reason why I knew that was incorrect was because I originally had perfect hearing. So imagine trying to hear with your hand. That's what it was like. And you can't really process sound with your hand. Maybe if someone screams into your hand, you might feel those sound waves. But now I'm able to process that. Now I'm able to hear something. And being able to turn my head to my left and say,
"Sorry, I didn't hear you,"
is amazing. But not only that, but there is now a visual hint that my hearing is not perfect. So that anxiety is gone. And I'm stoked for that. So I do consider it bionic hearing. And also, I have kind of identified the best way I can explain what this voice in my implant sounds like, what all voices sound like, thanks to one of the best video games I've ever played at an arcade machine, House of the Dead 2. I'm going to splice that clip right now. That's what it sounds like in my implant all the time. Hopefully a little less brooding and scary, because that is a very scary character in a video game. So I really hope one day I don't turn to see somebody talking actually look like that. That's what it sounds like. And it's, a lot of people may not like that, but just having any hearing at all is amazing. So being able to hear that and hope the possibility that it will get clear one day is really, really exciting. One of the things that we spoke about at one of the doctor's appointments were accessories. There's a device that I received that I can plug directly into my TV that'll stream the sound directly to my implant, which I really haven't bothered setting up yet. I probably should get on that. As well as like an additional charger, stuff like that. One of the things they did ask me if I was interested in was a sort of, I don't know if it's a cover, I don't know if it's a whole different device, but I could wear it underwater or swimming or in the shower, which I was only allowed like 3 accessories, and out of the 5, I figured that was probably the least of my concerns, going 6 years without hearing in a water situation, whether it be a pool, an ocean, a shower, and how easy it is to remove this. I didn't think I needed to waste one of my, bonus accessories on that. Especially because of the fact that literally all I can do, I take off my glasses to swim. Taking off my exterior device is not going to be an issue. And as far as wrestling, yes, I fully intend on returning to wrestling. I believe my return is in March for RCW in Indiana, and I won't wear my exterior device. I know my buddy Sean Sparks doesn't. I know I'm also not the only, wrestler who's hearing impaired. And I know some people may wear hearing aids and a headpiece. I think Spencer Slade may still wear his hearing devices when he works and has headgear on, where Sean Sparks does not. I will not wear my exterior device. However, I am looking into getting something made to cover my ear, just because I have an implant. And there is a risk of, anytime I get in the ring from now on, all it takes is my opponent to just punch me or kick me in the ear as hard as they can, and the risk of breaking that implanted device in my cochlea is a valid one. So I'm getting something made, not an actual like amateur wrestling piece set of headgear, because that doesn't really fit my look. And I could have done it, because at the end of the day, it's just pads, and it's no different than elbow pads. It just so happens that the imagery is more synonymous with the collegiate wrestler. But I feel like that would have been lazy. So we're getting something made that fits me, Sean Phoenix, and in who I am and how I present myself. So I'm just going to have that just kind of like as a fail-safe to be like, hey, if you punch me in this ear, it's on sight. But thankfully I have a backup, a little bit of protection. I probably am not going to wear that for the rest of my career, more so just until I get comfortable. It's kind of like, coming back from any injury, you want to, kind of baby that that body part that might not be as strong. You just want to be considerate of it. So I'm kind of just doing it like that. Who knows how long I'll wear it. But yeah, I will be returning to wrestling. I'll just be back to mono hearing for my in-ring portion of my career, which once again, I went 6 years doing it. That's not a foreign concept to me. But I'm really excited for this. I'm really excited. It's been about a week and a half now of stereo hearing, and it's already felt like there's been a little bit of a breakthrough where the voice doesn't sound as robotic and high-pitched as it did. So that's exciting. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see how this progresses. I'm very excited to teach other people about this. I'm very excited to inspire other people. Sean Sparks, I cannot thank you enough for changing my life. When we had our match, it literally changed my life, and I cannot thank you for that enough. I cannot thank Ryan. I can't thank Mr. King for the opportunity for that. It meant the world to me. Thank you for your questions, your concerns. Feeling good, feeling excited, and I'm looking forward to having stereo hearing in 2025 and onwards. Let's fire it up.